Business leaders often underestimate their ability to create hope and to engage employees on an emotional level. They may underestimate the degree to which employees look to them for direction and leadership. In the book, Primal Leadership: Learning to Lead with Emotional Intelligence, Daniel Goleman provides numerous examples of how leaders can effectively engage their employees at a level that captures their hearts and minds. This leadership competency is a developed skill and is necessary for the process of creating hope within employees. In addition to sharing their personal commitment to the change, executive sponsors should directly communicate the benefits of the change to employees. They should make clear connections between the objectives of the change and the overall direction of the business. Executive sponsors may want to share success stories or struggles from other departments or from early trials with the change. Employees want to hear about the challenges endured during the transition and how they were handled. They want to hear the good and the bad, the suffering and the rewards. They want to hear that success is possible, and they want to learn from the mistakes of others. Most importantly, they want to hear the primary sponsor speak about the opportunities and benefits for the business as a whole. Most common executive manager mistakes. The three roles described above for executive managers represent the type of sponsorship that creates desire among employees. However, business leaders don't always assume these roles. According to the 2005 Change Management Study results, the most common mistakes made by executive managers include: mistake number 1, failing to engage personally as the sponsor for the change. Project teams reported that their sponsor abdicated sponsorship to lower-level managers, the project team, or consultants, was absent or ignored the project, failed to stay involved and track progress, was not visible after the initial kickoff, failed to communicate the need for change and the risk of not changing, or failed to reinforce a consistent message. The sponsor was not visible and active throughout the entire project. Mistake number 2, changed priorities midstream. Project teams reported that commitment wavered or support dwindled over time, other projects took priority, or the sponsor moved on to the next flavor of the month. Mistake number 3, did not create a sponsorship coalition. Project team stated that the sponsor assumed support from other business leaders would be there, moved too fast without ensuring that key managers were on board, underestimated resistance and the impact of change on employees, assumed the message trickled down, assumed everyone understood the need for change, failed to set expectations of other business leaders, or tolerated resistance from mid-level managers. These common mistakes by executive sponsors directly impact employees' desire to support and participate in a change. Executive managers who delegate the role of sponsorship or who are absent during the change process indirectly tell employees that this change is not very important. Executive managers who change priorities midstream send the message that, if you wait long enough, this too shall pass. Executive managers who fail to create a sponsor coalition will often see one or more managers not supporting the change. The employees who work under that chain of command will have less desire to support the change if their own manager is not on board. Tactic 2. Equip managers and supervisors to be change leaders. Employees ultimately turn to their immediate supervisor for direction. In order for supervisors to create desire within their employees, they need to, first, conduct effective conversations about the change at a group and individual level. Second, manage persistent resistance to the change. And finally, demonstrate commitment to the change through their behavior. A customer service manager was required to implement a process change in her call center to increase cross-selling of products. She met with each employee to discuss the change and provided general guidelines for how the cross-selling would be initiated with customers. A training session was conducted that included role plays and scripts for the agents to use. Several weeks later, the manager noticed that one agent in particular was not cross-selling to customers. The manager met face-to-face with the employee to talk about the issue. The conversation centered on the training scripts and methods for engaging customers. The manager left the meeting, believing she had really made an impact and did a good job training this employee. The performance data came out 2 weeks later. This agent was still not cross-selling. The manager decided that the employee did not have the ability to cross-sell products and decided to move this agent to a different role. When the agent found out that she was being moved out of her team, she immediately confronted her manager and asked for one more chance. The employee stated she was unaware of the consequences associated with this change before now. The supervisor agreed, and 2 more weeks passed. The manager was surprised to find out, in the next reporting period, that this agent had cross-sold more products than any other person on the team. Over time, this agent repeatedly showed the best cross-selling performance of any team member. In this case study, the supervisor erroneously started the conversation about change with her employees at the knowledge level of the ADKAR model. That is, she began with training. She didn't build awareness of why the change was needed, nor did she assess the desire of this employee to support and participate in the change. When performance issues surfaced, she focused again on the knowledge for cross-selling. However, the agent that would not cross-sell lacked desire, not knowledge or ability. If the supervisor had taken the time to diagnose the barrier point to this change, she would have found out that this employee was uncomfortable pushing products into customers. The agent was happy to take customer orders and hang up. It wasn't until the customer service agent faced the consequence of a reduced role, different from her colleagues, that she made a personal choice to support the change. The quality and content of the conversation with the employee had a direct impact on the success of the change. Having the right conversations with employees. Conversation was deliberately chosen for naming this interaction between supervisors and their employees during change. Conversation in this context doesn't mean to debate, argue, present, or persuade. It simply means to talk about the change. A supervisor should be open to having conversations about all aspects of the change. Some employees may want to talk about past failed changes and why this change will be any different. Others may need to talk about their personal circumstances and how this change will affect them. Still others will want to debate the reasons a change is being made. All of these topics must be part of effective supervisors' conversations with employees. Supervisors shouldn't assume that an employee will be resistant to the change. The purpose of the conversation is to allow the employee to sort out their questions and concerns over the change in a professional setting. The process for enabling managers and supervisors to have effective conversations with their employees begins with managing the change with the supervisors first. When changes occur in an organization, a supervisor or manager is an employee first, manager second. In other words, they'll have their own questions and potential issues with the change that must be resolved before they can effectively sponsor the change with employees. That means the project team and the executive sponsor must play an active role in managing change with supervisors and managers in the organization. Managers and supervisors may also need training on change management. A common error is to assume that supervisors are by default effective coaches and change managers. The competency to manage change effectively with employees is a developed skill. The change management team, in partnership with HR, should ensure that training programs are in place to teach supervisors how to manage change and, when necessary, how to manage resistance. Managing persistent resistance. Resistance to change from employees and managers is a common obstacle to successful change projects. The current state has a powerful hold on employees. In a parable told by Spencer Johnson in Who Moved My Cheese, each character views the change in the cheese differently. One character was so fearful of the unknown that even in the face of starvation, he resisted change. In ProSci's 2005 Change Management Report, the top 5 reasons that employees resisted change, as cited by study participants, were: 1. Employees were not aware of the underlying business need for change. 2. Layoffs were announced or feared as part of the change. 3. Employees perceived the need for new skills that they currently lacked. 4. Individuals resisted the change in an attempt to maintain the personal rewards, sense of accomplishment, and fulfillment provided by the current state.